This video is sponsored by Note. Good morning. Today I'm headed back to the darkroom after basically an entire summer of not being in. I think the last session I did was maybe towards the beginning of summer, kind of like June. We're now at the end of September. So today's session is going to be printing from a trip that I just got back from to Lisbon. I'm a little worried that I might be a little bit rusty in the darkroom, so I'm going to go in just printing kind of like a personal project, just some street stuff from Lisbon and see how that goes and just kind of get back into the flow of things. I dropped my film in for development yesterday, got the scans back yesterday, and hopefully we'll pick up the negatives this morning. The lab that I use, Come Through Lab in Manchester, the lab is downstairs and then their darkroom is upstairs, so it's all in the same building. Nice and easy. But today I'm going to be printing from this big paper, this 12 by 16 paper. Towards the end of last session, I started printing with this paper, and it was nice to work on kind of like a larger canvas. I have to keep moving because this light is really changing this morning. Yeah, so we're going to be heading into the darkroom. I'm going to be going through the same as my other darkroom videos, really, my process, my thoughts, the actual printing process, but I'm also going to be talking a little bit more about how I organise myself in the darkroom, how I choose what to print, how I keep track of what to print and my settings and stuff like that. And we'll be using the sponsor of today's video, Note, to do that. So I'll be showing you through Note in real time as and when I'm using it. But essentially, Note is a great tool for you to be able to organise your projects, your creative projects, whether that is creating briefs for photo shoots or using it in this kind of setting in the darkroom. Note is an online canvas that basically allows you to plan, brainstorm and collaborate with your collaborators, your stylists, your models, your clients, etc. In today's session, I'll be using it to keep everything organized, give me like kind of a clear idea of what it is I'm working with, and also as kind of like a reference when I'm in the darkroom for future sessions. But without saying much more, I'm gonna grab my stuff and we're gonna head to the darkroom. So I've just arrived at the darkroom, picked up my negatives, and I'm gonna be setting up the darkroom behind me, number 2 here. Luckily, I am the only one in the darkroom today, so I can talk you guys through it and actually talk to the camera, which is always good. I don't like doing these sorts of videos when there's other people in here, just because, for me, like, this is quite a therapeutic time. I don't want to like break anyone else's focus or anyone else's kind of enjoyment of the process, I guess, by talking. We're going to start by printing some contact sheets. I have actually got my scans loaded into my Note, which I will show you now, my Note board. But I'm going to make the contact sheets anyway, just because I think sometimes when you physically hold a print, it's a little bit easier to see what you're working with than digitally. Okay, so this is my Note board, and as you can see here, there's quite a lot on here that I'm going to talk you through. So on the left hand side here, you can see that I've already identified some of the frames that I know I want to print from. These are identified over here with the little love heart reactions. The thumbs up reaction is basically a key for me to say, like, I like this one, but I don't know if I want to print from it. The heart ones are the ones I know that I definitely want to. The thumbs up ones will be like ones that if I get time, I'll print from those. So I've got a couple of those hearted, and those are written over here. What I'll be doing is going through the rolls and just like numbering them so that I have a key. There's 3 rolls, 486, 485 and 484. So I'll write that on, and then the frame number, particularly for the ones that I know I want to print from. You just do that by drawing on here. Then underneath here, I have a bit for my final prints. So here I have my process cheat sheet, which is essentially just instructions for me. I just said that it's been a little while since I've been in the darkroom. So these are basically to-do lists for me to kind of remind me how to do things if I forget. Then this section here, best settings, is going to be where I add the best settings that I used for each of the frames that I print. This is just a reference. If I come back next week, haven't finished the session, everything's all in one place. We'll do the same thing for the contact sheets. What I will do is, once I've taken the contact sheet, I'll either scan it or take a photo with my phone and use the Note phone app to add it to this contact sheet bit, so that I can see the colours that I used for that contact sheet, because that's one of the reasons I use contact sheets, is to kind of have a base level of colours for me to work with. So that's really handy if, say I print these 3 contact sheets and I don't get through all my prints, next session or in a few sessions, I can come back and be like, what was I working on? And then over here, again, are just my lab scan references. I do find that it can be useful to just have that up prior to the session if I have them already scanned. But Note makes it very easy to start a new project. So it has over 100 built-in templates. Let me show you another one of them. So if I make a board here, template, here you have tons of different templates. For this one I used the photography contact sheet, which you can search for in photography and then contact sheet. So basically I copied this feature of having this kind of layout with all the reactions, and then I just added that template with all the other cards for me to kind of make a situation that works for my workflow. But let's print some contact sheets and then we'll be coming back to Milanote to fill this out kind of as we work through the session. I think that most of the photos that I want to print from are from this roll 486. So we're going to start the contact sheets with 486. So I'm going to find that now. If you are interested in learning how to make a contact sheet, I have a full video on the channel that goes through all of these processes, from making a contact sheet to making a print. But what we're going to do first is just secure these negatives in this contact sheet holder. So I also just took a photo of this chart. There's one here, and there's a little one up there, which is basically just like a color coded chart to help you like know what to add or subtract with the colors. It's not something that I use all the time, but it is really handy to have reference to. So I'm actually going to just quickly add that to my cheat sheet page, because I don't know why I've never thought about adding it. So I've just taken the photo on my phone. Cool, and then I'm just gonna open up Milanote, and then I can just add image from my photo library, add that. And then as you can see here, it kind of goes into this unsorted bit at the top. So if I click unsorted, I can see my photo there, and I can just drag it into my cheat sheet. So if I drag that over there, have that in the middle. Cool, and then when I go back to my laptop, it should be there also. It is here. I've got a new laptop and it's all of the things are resetting. And now I've got it on my phone and also here if I need it for reference. I might actually put that into a column just to keep it, I'll say like cheat sheets. Yeah. Nice and neat. You can really like customize Milanote how you want, but I quite like it being neat. I'm just going to make a new board and it's just going to be called notes. I'm going to shove that in here too. I'm not going to choose a template, I'm just going to add my notes, and then these are just like my messy notes that I can leave in this and not ruin my main board with. Yeah, so I'm going to go and get the contact sheet. Okay, so here is the contact sheet. I don't usually print contact sheets this large. Let's get Sharpie and write on this. Obviously, very magenta. So we can see that it is way too pink, way too magenta. If we come over to this cheat sheet, we can see magenta, we need to add magenta. So this was at M40, I'm gonna put it up to like M60. Give that a go. Exposure-wise, 246. This is 8, so somewhere between 6 and 8. We'll probably go for 7 and just do a full print at 7 seconds with the new settings, and then tweak it from there, or kind of like use that as a base going into when we print the final photos. So this is the new exposure. I cut down the sheet while I was in there, which was difficult in the dark. Right, so color-wise, we're much, much better. So I think this will probably be the base colour. It's a little bit cold. I don't really like how cold this is, but we can warm it up on the next contact sheet. And what I'm going to do now is just take a photo of this and add it to the Mila note. If I just go onto this bit here for my contact sheets, and then I can actually just take a photo, use photo. And then the same way as we placed the other photo, I'm just going to go into unsorted, drag that into and add that 486. So then my contact sheet is in there, just for reference. And I'll probably replace that with a scan of the contact sheet once I've scanned it, but for now the photo will do. We are one contact sheet down. I'm going to print the other two contact sheets using the same settings because it was all Kodak Gold 200, so I can just basically tweak from this base of this contact sheet onto the other two and I've got basically 2 more chances to try and figure out the best colours before we go into making the actual prints. So I'm just going to update my Mila noteboard with the best settings that I used. So the way I will do that is, first of all, I'll come into my notes bit that I set up and just note that this is too cold, but yeah, exposure at 7 seconds was fine. And then I can come into this and fill this out. So that was M40, no it wasn't, it was M60, Y40. Let me just check that that's right, M60, Y40. And that's the contact sheet. I can also edit that, so I can crop it, rotate it, which I will do. And then move on to the next one, which we will be going into. So this will be my second contact sheet. So now that I have printed my 3 contact sheets, we are going to start with the first print. So I'll make some test strips, basically using the settings that I found work best on the contact sheets, because all 3 of these rolls were shot pretty much similar lighting conditions, and same camera, same lens, same film stock. So the settings should kind of apply across the 3 different rolls pretty accurately, and hopefully there'll just be like a little bit of fine tuning. So the first print that I'll be making will be one from this first contact sheet that I did, and we'll be doing an exposure test where I make the strips, where I test different exposures in strips and go from there. And then from there on I'll make strips for color exposure, still making notes in Mila Note up until my final print. And then hopefully the settings that I end up with my final print for, the pre-flash, the exposure, the color, should apply quite nicely across the majority of the prints, so there'll be like a little bit less tweaking moving forward. So the first print that I'll be making will probably be this one here. This is the scan for the second frame on 486. So I'm going to find that negative now. And so this is 486 and that negative is down here. So I'm going to take this one out now and load it into a negative holder. So I've got the light box here, my negatives, and then the negative holder here, so we're going to fit it. So first of all, I need to find the right holder. That might be right. So whilst that first print is printing, I am basically going through my contact sheets and just writing a note on Mila Note about which ones I think I want to print from now. So for example, I'm just going to duplicate this and add this frame here and have a look if there's anything else that I want to print from, and then just back into my notes to continue adding my notes once the exposure is out and working through this first print. So here we have the first test strip. So I'm just going to put that this was F8. And then the darkest part is the most time. So we did 3-second intervals. So this will be 3, 6, 9, 12. Around the 6, the colours look the richest. I do kind of want to put a pre-flash just to fill in some of those highlights. So we will do a strip test with the same settings and like a second pre-flash and just see what that looks like. Okay, so this is the pre-flash. I did a 1-second pre-flash. This was the original one. Let me just put that over the top so we can see. Might need to just refocus. It looks kind of a little bit out of focus. But let's do a full print with these settings with the pre-flash and see how that looks. We just printed this frame here, and I think I'm going to do this one and this one next. So I just made a print from the same settings as the first print. So I'm just going to add to my notes, and then we're going to head over and scan in the first print just so that I have that available. I can add it to my Mila notes and that is done. Okay, so the second print, rid of all that. What I'm going to do now is just cross off that I've done this using the drawing section. We'll do a little green and it will just be a little line. I'll do a thicker line than that. There we go. Cool. So that one is done and I can fill this out. You can kind of already see my system of using Mila Note, and it's so customizable that you can make this very specific to the way that you work and your workflow. And the great thing about that is that you can access Mila Note for free with a no time limit sign up for a free Mila Note account using the link in the description. So if you are interested in using it within your printing workflow, within your shooting workflow, then I definitely recommend checking it out and seeing how you can work best with it. As you've been able to see as I've gone through, it's super customizable, and you know, if you're someone that just wants to draw and have a Mila Note just like this references board that I've got here, which is a lot messier, or if you're someone like me and they like things being quite organized, like with my process cheat sheet and stuff like that, then you can kind of design it to fit your needs in that way. We're going to head over now and scan in this print, which is the first print that we made today, and add it to the Mila Note board. So now that we have a couple of prints finished and scanned, I'm going to airdrop them from the lab computer to my laptop and drop them into Mila Note. Tick off number 2, tick off number 10, draw a little tick on that one. Then we're going to go into final prints. I'm going to open these scans up in Lightroom just to make sure they are saved as like JPEGs. And this one, here they are, ready to go in. Perfect. I'm going to continue printing, basically, continue adding to this board throughout the session and see how many I can get through. I'm going to do one more, I think, from this roll, which will be frame 13, this one here. And then I'm going to move on to printing this photo, I think, and also giving this one a go, but with a bit of a stronger pre-flash, because when I printed it here and it was nice and warm, I really like this, and I feel like maybe going a bit warmer in the pre-flash might be fun to experiment with. So we'll see. I think that will be the one after, or like 2 prints time. If I get round to doing it, then that will be fun to experiment with. Okay, so let's take this over to... So where my handprint is here is where the pre-flash isn't existing, and then we've got quite a strong pre-flash. I've actually managed to load the wrong image. Like, I wasn't actually gonna print from this at all, and I don't know how I've managed to do that. I'm just realizing this now. Right, okay, that's going away, and I'm gonna reload the negative holder. I don't know how I've done that. I must be getting tired. This is the wrong negative. I am just gonna quickly reference this though, just to see that pre-flash. So it's adding a lot more magenta into the image. I'm gonna redo it with this frame to see what that looks like. Okay, I'm now printing the correct frame. I must be tired because I even focused up that last image, like refocused it, and didn't realise that it was the wrong frame, which means I need to go to bed, I think. But yeah, we'll see what this next one looks like. With the pre-flash, I put my hand over again to get that difference like of the pre-flash and then the non-pre-flash. That's the beep to tell me that it's gone into the printer. And yeah, we'll just see what that looks like. I think I want to experiment with quite a strong pre-flash from this one that we just did, the frame that I didn't mean to print. It's looking quite magenta. I'll see how that looks on the next frame because I might want to change that up. I think I want quite like a warm pre-flash kind of vibe on it. I've never really experimented with strong pre-flashing before, so this was 3-second exposure, so it is quite strong. So we'll see what it looks like and go from there. Okay, so this is the correct frame. Let's take a look. Okay, yeah, I really like the colours here in the shadow, and that is with the pre-flash. I think that's just the richness though of like the exposure, because this is like 9 seconds in total, I think. Obviously this does add a lot more magenta into the image. This pre-flash, you can see the line. That's where my hand is blocking the pre-flash. This is where the pre-flash is. I think I like it, but I think I maybe even want to go a bit stronger. Maybe I'll do a strip test at like 4 seconds and just see what that looks like, particularly in this section. Hopefully I'll manage to get that section anyway. Okay, so this is a 4-second pre-flash. This is a 3-second pre-flash. But what I'm noticing is that there's still a bit of, like the highlights here are a bit blown out. So I think I need to maybe do like 1/2 second exposure on the normal time as well. But I do quite like this 4-second pre-flash. This kind of tone here, this in the corner, is what I kind of want to achieve in the entire print. So we're going to do 4 seconds again, but with 1/2 second longer on the normal exposure, and see how that looks. So this is the final print. I definitely think that extra stop of light helped. Could probably push it even further, but I don't want to lose this bit. I don't really like dodging and burning because I'm not very good at it. Maybe this is a good time for me to practice, but for now, I'm quite happy. Okay, so we have come to the end of the session. I'm going to go through the prints now, and we're also going to have a little look at the Amelia note board so I can show you what it's ended up looking like, basically. So if we take a look straight away at the Amelia note board, you can see that I've color coded the roles just so that in my head I know kind of which roles that they apply to. I need to fill this one out still. So this will be a 4. You just change the color by clicking the card color up there. And then this one was 6.5, and this was 4 seconds. You can see that I've got my to-do list all ticked off. These are the main prints that I wanted to print from today. I've got my contact sheets here, which I will be replacing with the scans once I've scanned them in. These are just the photos that I took on my phone. The best settings here, these are just for reference. Obviously, The enlarger will be slightly different every time, especially if I'm using a different booth, but it's just good for me to have kind of like a reference of what I was working at during this session. Then, yep, got my contact sheets, and then over here I have my lab scan references, just kind of like a place for me to scribble and organise the scans. If I click into my notes, you'll see my notes as I've gone on for the different roles, for the contact sheets, and I've highlighted the settings that were most applicable just so that I can really quickly look at this board and see what I need to see. If I come into the final prints, we can have a look at them. So I've imported them all here. These are all the scans. So if we start with this one, this is the one that I just printed off. And it is this print of this like pineapple stand in Lisbon. I really like this photo. What I really like about this is actually the colours. I'm really happy with the colours that I managed to get. I've never experimented this strongly with a pre-flash before. A lot of my work, you guys will know, is portrait based. So, you know, in the spirit of keeping skin tones correct and everything, I don't play too much with pre-flash, but it's something I want to do more of. So I really like how it looks on this one, especially in this bottom corner. And then moving along here to this landscape one. This is one of my favorite frames because of the colors, the way that the red and the yellows kind of pop. I always really love that about handprints. I feel like the red and yellow colors in a handprint are so much richer than those of like a film scan. We can compare it to a film scan actually. If I come over here and copy that, you can see the difference there between the handprint and the film scan. For me personally, I much prefer the warmth of the handprint. Then moving along, we have this frame. I don't think this is one of my favorite prints, but it's definitely one of my favorite frames. I think I might come back to this and make another print that is slightly darker. I think there's a bit too much light in this middle section. So I might come back in another session and rework that one. Moving on to this pink one. I really like the colors of this one. Again, this one is nice and warm. I actually think I may have not focused properly though. That's the only thing that I'm thinking about this one. So that might be a reprint as well, but I actually really like the colors. I love how these pinks look. It's maybe bordering on slightly cold compared to what I had in mind, but the magenta pops so well that I kind of like it like that. And then this was the first print, and this was one of my favorite frames that I took in Lisbon. So of this guy fishing. There was people fishing all along here, but what I really like about this is that you can obviously see the bridge and the monument and everything. And you also have some nice little colors. I do have another photo that I'll show you, a scan of another guy fishing, even, not printing. This guy here, and I do like this frame, but I just thought that the colors and the composition on this one was that little bit nicer. But a big thank you to Melanote for sponsoring today's video. As I mentioned earlier, if you do want to get to grips with Melanote and use it for your own creative projects, then it is available for free using the link in the description, so head over and check that out. Shout out to Come Through Lab, of course, who developed and scanned all my prints and whose darkroom I am in today. And of course, thank you guys for watching. It's been a little while since I've been in the darkroom, and also a little while since I was able to make a video like this for the channel, so I hope you guys enjoy it. As I mentioned in my last video, I do have lots of stuff coming up. It's just kind of having the time. As you guys know, I'm a full-time photographer, and trying to fit making these YouTube videos into my schedule has been really difficult over summer. As we're kind of going into a bit of a slower season, I'm hoping to get you guys all of the stuff that I've been doing in the summer, basically, like catching you up on all of those projects. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.